Hi, this is Bill Kenney, and we're here with the next episode of Belly to Belly. And today our topic is SelectUSA preparation. And SelectUSA is coming up just in a few months. It's June 23rd through 26th in National Harbor, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. Today we're joined with our great friend, Frances Simowitz from WEVE Acceleration. Good afternoon, Frances. How are you?
Good. How are you, Bill? So excited to join you today.
It's wonderful to see you, and obviously we're both really excited about SelectUSA and kind of all the opportunities that creates for international companies. The goal of our conversation today, Frances, is really to help companies get a sense of the opportunities at SelectUSA and really get them connected so that to the extent that they want to make pre-connection and have pre-conversation, that they do as much of that as possible. Because as you know, the more prepared you are, the more you're going to get out of this process. So, to get started, Frances, it'd be really good because you and your team provide such a great service for companies coming into the U.S. If you'd give us kind of an overview of what WEVE Acceleration does and how you help international companies coming into the U.S.
Yeah, happy to. So WEVE Acceleration has been around now for almost 8 years, headquartered in New York in the US. We originated from a French brand who was one of the early accelerators in the space since like 2001. And they opened up their New York activities specifically to help international companies expand to the US because they saw that a lot of times their portfolio from all over the world, when they got to a certain stage in size, like many startups around the world know, the US is a very attractive, large market. So we developed 10-week soft landing programs to support these companies through education. You don't know what you don't know in the US, and how to do things, how to sell, how to connect with people. We also introduce them, most importantly, to a network of potential clients, partners, mentors, experts that can advise them on their journey. And we often do a lot of in-person activities as well to really integrate companies into the United States. We have our own flagship program, which any company from around the world can participate of their own. But we also do a lot of government collaborations directly. We work with governments like Singapore and Japan and Uruguay and Canada and Australia and all over the world to support companies from their countries with U.S. expansion. So it's our bread and butter.
One of the really cool things that I love about your program, Frances, and maybe you could talk a little bit about this, is just, your focus versus a lot of accelerators I think that people are used to that are very investment focused. You're, I would say, much more revenue generation, sales focused, which, is kind of the best form of fundraising, right? It's besides the customer endorsement by spending their money, the idea that you're actually proving that there is traction in the U.S. and there is a reason to be here. So do you want to talk for a moment about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times when we talk to companies internationally, like one of the things that is very attractive about the US market is the investment landscape. There's high valuations, you're bringing in bigger check sizes, but, there's always a chicken and egg with that. And especially if you're coming and successful from another market, US investors also want to see that the solution makes sense here. And so having some proof of traction, of potential product market fit in the United States is really key to then being able to later attract US investment. So most of the companies that we work with, investment might be a secondary priority. We, of course, introduce them to investors, but first it's like, how do we get the proof of traction so that you are sustainable here? You can think about hiring here and then actually attract the right investment from the right investors later down the line. So it's always sales first, traction first, and investment after.
Yeah, the saying I like is the only place where investment comes before sales is in the dictionary.
Yes. Ooh, I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
please steal it. It's on loan. So let's get maybe on to SelectUSA for a few minutes. And why is it that it's important for you to participate? What is it about the event that you find really compelling?
Yeah, it's a really fantastic event, especially for what we do on a few different fronts. Like, Obviously, as I mentioned, we are targeting governments directly because, that way startups don't have to give up any equity or any cash to participate in our programs and the resources we provide. So, we'll connect with the foreign governments there as well as US governments, because we don't just run programs in New York City. We run programs in other states and localities around the United States. So that's one, but then we also get to connect with a lot of really great startup companies. So there's also large delegations of fantastic tech companies that are thinking about the United States, and for our programs and the types of people we want to support, it's a great way for us to meet great tech companies too. So really for us on all sides, it's everyone that we want to be meeting with in one place at one time.
Yeah, it is. It's a 10-ring circus anyway. It's massive, and you have so many different stakeholders there for sure. And company is so efficient for companies to come in and make those connections all in 3 days. So the last question I have for you is around things that companies can do to get the most out of the experience. Thinking of some companies that have been to the U.S. probably several times and maybe even been to SelectUSA before. Other companies, not only will this be their first time at SelectUSA, but it'll be their first time to the US. And so are there suggestions, maybe taking it in 2 chunks here, are there suggestions you'd have for getting the most out of the event? And then, sort of companion to that, what suggestions in terms of their US visit? Anything that you would suggest in both of those?
Yeah, so I think conferences in general are a great way to be able to maximize a trip to a specific country and location. But one of the things about the United States is that it's also massive. So, if you think about, coming from Europe, every different country is almost like in the United States, a different state. So we always also advise companies that you should be soft landing specifically where your customers are. And if you are, for example, a health tech company, Boston or Baltimore might be better locations for you. If you are selling into energy or oil and gas, you might be needing to go to Texas. If you're, doing something with semiconductors, Phoenix is building like a big hub for those types of solutions there. So really do your research ahead of time on, for your business, what is the right ecosystem? And who are your right clients potentially for the United States? That's first and foremost, because that'll inform both, how do you maximize your trip to the United States? Because maybe you go to one of those ecosystems after. It's a much quicker flight and less expensive to do that. But then also, who are you targeting at the actual event? I feel like SelectUSA is really great because you do get ahead of time access to the platform where you can research participants, who they are. So if Phoenix is the right place for you potentially, you then ahead of time can reach out, set up pre-meetings or meetings in person there to speak to the people from the ecosystems that you need to go to. Look at the different service providers. Do you need accounting or banking services in the US? Those people are there too. So really do your research ahead of time to understand both on the broad scale where you might fit in the United States, and then also really at the event and with those participants, who do you need to meet with, and be proactive in setting that up ahead of time would be my biggest thing. It really comes down to research and doing your homework, like all things in business.
Yeah. What was it? Woody Allen said 80% of life is showing up. I think in events, as you just said, probably 80% is actually the preparation you do ahead of time, and and making sure that you're targeting the right people based on, as you said, where the customers are, and then pre-connecting to the right relationships in that region to make it all work. So no, that's super advice. That's awesome. Well, great, Francis, this has been so helpful, and I think companies are going to get a lot out of this. What we'll do is pop your information certainly in the description below. And are you open to companies reaching out to you in advance?
Oh, 100%. We would love that. We're also going to be bringing a number of team members with us this year to SelectUSA. So also happy to connect with anyone ahead of time, but then also in person while we're there.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for taking the time today. And I can't wait to see you on June 23rd to 26th.
Same. See you there, Bill.
All right. Thanks, Francis.